And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at a game called For Science. Now, I played For Science in prototype form. I don't normally do that, but this was 6 years ago, a long time ago. I had a chance to see this one, and when I saw it, I said, wow, this game feels very innovative. It's about curing diseases and stopping diseases from rampaging. You are working on finding a cure for them, which is very notable now here in 2021, but at the time it was designed, well, it's always a good thing to be doing. It's a cooperative game that involves puzzle solving and dexterity, using blocks that you might find in anybody's home who has small children. Here's how it plays. To win this game, you need a certain number of insight points, and this is all determined by the number of players. So this is for 4 players. You need 12 insight. So you're going to be moving up these tracks. Here I got 4 yellow insight, 4 blue, and 4 red. That's 12. We win. Or maybe 10 and 2. It doesn't really matter which tracks you're moving up. You just need to get to that goal. To get to that goal, you're going to be building this tile network in front of everybody, and you're going to be placing them next to each other, putting the same things like this. So maybe I could place this one here, and then can I close this? Nope, that doesn't work. Does this do it? Yep. So I've closed this red one. That will give me 2 of that kind of insight. So you need to get these tiles to get the insight to win the game. Players are going to get these tiles by designing cures for diseases or doing supporting research on their own character. Each player is going to have a character that's going to give them special abilities over the course of the game. Many of these special abilities have, for example, to clear all wasted cards and draw 2 design cards. That's one of her special abilities. That blue there is +1 for each of those symbols you've reached in the blue insight track. And that's why there's 3 insight tracks, because they help the different characters. Players are going to have a hand of 1 design card. Now you can discard these design cards if you want to, but if you discard too many design cards, that's going to cause you to lose things. So you don't want that to happen. And you're going to place these design cards either on your character, and this one is not a legitimate placement. You'll notice that there are 3 lines, and this one goes to the stop. There can't be anything put there, although it could be placed this way if I wanted to. I could also place it on these different diseases. Each disease is also the same way, although there's a mutation on the one disease making it more difficult, but you can start here. The rules are, for when playing these cards, it will show you a minimum length. So this one means there has to be at least 3 cards, this one has to be at least 2. This one has to have at least 3 cards, and it also has mutation. And this means these diseases also have different things. Like this says you must have this connecting to this in the cards, and this connecting to this, and the yellow connecting to the blue. All 3 of those need to be legit before I can do that design. And this one says there needs to be a purple or a yellow on every card. And this one says there needs to be more reds than greens. You don't have those restrictions here, but what's happening is you're trying to get these tiles, and each of the tiles has different symbols on the back. The bigger tiles show this symbol, and the smaller tiles show this one. And each thing that you build is going to give you those. So for example, over here, I'm going to get +1 of those symbols. On this disease here, I would get +2. And then each card will give you some, although this disease card actually makes you lose -5 of those. So you have to put out more design cards to get more symbols. There's a lot of symbols on these. So you can see this one's worth 2, this one's worth 3, this one's worth 2. So you're going to be trying to build a design. Once you've built a design and verified it, now you don't have to verify this one as much, you just got to make sure the lines match. But if it's one of the cures, you have to make sure, in this case, this would not meet this requirement because it says it needs more reds than greens. There's 2 greens and 2 reds. But once you've made this and someone verifies it, okay, now you have to build it. So you're going to take blocks that it shows on the card, and you have to build a structure that is standing that will not fall apart. And it needs to sit there and stay. So I have to follow the rules here. The yellow and the purple must touch the ground. Now, I made it look like that, but the fact of the matter is I can make them play any way they want. This might be a better way to do it. I'm not sure, though. I need to put this red one here like that, and I need to put this on top of that, but that doesn't seem like it's going to work. So maybe I do need to go on the long ways. This is kind of tricky because you'll see I put this one here and this one like this, but now all these two blocks need to touch the orange. It needs to touch both of them. And that's going to be really tricky to do. But maybe if I do this, there we go. I've gotten it into, yeah, I'm starting to make some progress. And on top of this one, I just need to put a purple, a green, and a blue. But the blue must be touching the purple. So if there's a line between them, they must touch. If there's no line between them, they may not touch. So this green needs to be over here, and none of these can touch this one. So now I built this. Everyone looks, it doesn't fall over, and this gives me 6 microscope symbols, which lets me draw the tiles, give those tiles to somebody else, and then they can start building the tile structure together. So you'll see this little diamond one here is worth 2 microscopes. I could draw 3 of these, which hopefully will help me, but usually you need to get these bigger ones to get the symbols on them to get the points. That's the whole game. The game takes place with a 15-minute timer, and you're trying to just do as many of these as possible to get to that goal. Get to that goal, you win. If you don't, you lose. Now, there is a lot going on, and I didn't even mention there's like a little expansion here called Sci Hard, which mostly just adds some star blocks to make your life more difficult. But even in the base game, you can play with event cards, which will do all sorts of things. All players until the next event or until 2 diseases have been cured, your left and right hands must touch at all times. I don't really care for these event cards at all. I think the base game's fine as it is. But even with the base game, you have all kinds of diseases, you have all kinds of mutations that can happen, and that makes it more difficult. And there is a ton of characters that are going to allow you to do different things. Some of them are easier to build with, and some have 2. One of them has a 2-card hand. They put symbols on them to show you how many players you can play for, and some of them are easier to play with than others. But this one, for example, when he builds in the workshop, gives you +1 for each star in a design and +2 for each star in a design. So the more stars in a design, the better this person does. You also have these cards here. There's a lot of cool things in this game, and the variety is immense. Not to mention that in the rule book itself, there's like 10 different variations so that you know how to play the game. And you can say, well, you can make it harder, make it easier. You can adjust your insight goal, change the time, etc., etc. So the game comes with these blocks. That's the whole thing of the game, right? These blocks, they look like kids' blocks. I've definitely played with them. I know for sure that this blue one goes in here, but that might actually help you out. This is a really good use of these kids' blocks. They stack pretty well, and they're also very durable. The game comes with 4 boards to keep your different decks of cards on: event, design, mutation, and disease cards. Not necessary, but it's nice. The tiles themselves, I thought this was really fascinating on the different, it has a Carcassonne vibe to it. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to connect these. We usually just put one person, that's their main job, is to just put these together and connect them where everybody else is building and verifying designs. And there are so many different variations of these different design cards. Can you pull them off? Sometimes you end up building card decks that are just impossible to finish. I'm also a big fan of the art on here. I think the symbology, it looks a little confusing at first, but what we always do is before we start the timer, everybody goes over their special ability. We talk about how difficult it might be to pull off their building. Like this person here, she doesn't do much, but she's really easy to build with. And also, there's a star there. Like I said, they recommend that you pick her as one of the starting person, or her Dr. Obvious. When you build a cure, he gives you +2 or more, depending on how high the red insight goes, microscope. So he's really good here, but he doesn't give you any extra for each of the cards. So I really like the artwork. I like the cards. There's a good quality. The biggest complaint might be just, it seems like a much bigger game than it is. There's so many pieces that go in the box, but that's a minor complaint at best. I really enjoy this game. It is a short game. It says 30 minutes on the box, but I'm assuming they're including the preparation phase and then the 15 minutes of gameplay. 15 minutes is pretty short. It really is. I personally would prefer, you can play without a timer. I think a timer is fine, but I would think 20 minutes, just to, at least your first few games. What's fun is they do give you this sheet called You Can Do It, and it gives you a few cards and it says, build these. And then on the back it shows you some possible building configurations. And I really think if you're playing this for the first time, spend some time, put some cards out, practice building things. Because once you kind of get into a groove on how to build these. And it's also important to look at all your things. Really start with the starred scientists. They're much easier than others. I mean, there's this board I didn't show you earlier, the board here where you're discarding a card from your hand if you can't make it fit. But once you have 3 here, the only way you can do this, you discard all 3, you add a mutation to one of your diseases. That's not good. You can get rid of cards here by spending those microscope symbols when you get them, but you got to be really careful. So there is some luck in how you draw the cards, but the fun of the game, the tile part is interesting. So it's kind of like there's different sections. Placing tiles, I find it interesting. The fun of the game is making the building blocks the way it shows there. So it's using dexterity, but also strategy. Like, wait, if you turn this block this way, you can make these touch each other. That's neat. It feels like you're building some, DNA sample, not really, but it kind of gives you that theme in there. The theme is pretty strong in this game. It's also quick, it's fast, but it's not for everybody. I really enjoy this game, but it's not a game that's out there for everybody. It's fun for me. I like the combination here, but if you don't like dexterity, you're not going to like this game unless, of course, you let someone else do the dexterity part and you just work on the puzzle-solving part and the tile part. And that, I think, is the shining part of For Science, because you don't all have to do the same things. It is a teamwork game, unless you're playing solo, which you can. But I find that I enjoy this more working with other people because people are talking about it. We're working together. It comes across in the theme. Hey, we're science solving this. But it's just interesting as one person's building with the blocks and one person's moving the tiles and putting them in place. The other person's sitting there putting cards out, trying to cure diseases. It's fun. Like I said, though, not for everyone. It's a very specific genre, but it's unique and interesting enough. Definitely one of the most unique games I've played in a long time. I thought it was unique, years ago when I played it for the first time, but I still think it feels unique. If you like those dexterity games, and there's been some good ones that come out over the course of the year, but they're usually just mindless type things. Pull this block, put it here. There's some thought to how you put the things together. There's a lot of thought, but you're still doing it underneath a timer. Not everyone's going to like that timer. Like I said, you could play without it, but then the only way to play it then is have a certain number of design cards and you score yourself on how many you go through. Because without a timer, pressure's not there. But I think that you'll find that timer is not as big of a deal and the game is still fun. So I really like the idea of this game and the play of it. While not for everyone, it's one I found to be a lot of fun. I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching the Dice Tower. Dice Tower Judgment approved!